When the stars remembered the names we had forgotten. The wind moved softly through the broken towers of the old city, carrying dust, silence, and memories that no one alive could still claim as their own. Humanity had long forgotten the stories of this place. The buildings rose like ghostly shapes in the morning light, their shadows stretching across cracked roads that once carried millions of footsteps. Now there were only a few of us, wanderers, survivors, and keepers of fading knowledge, trying to piece together a past we barely understood. My name was Lira, though even this name was not my own. I had chosen it after finding it written on a rusted metal plaque buried under rubble. People no longer kept real names. We used numbers, codes, or titles that changed with seasons. The old names, the true names, were lost during the collapse, when the sky turned red and the great towers fell. No one remembered who they once were. But everything changed the night the stars began to whisper. For as long as I could remember, the sky had been dim. Clouds of dust from the ancient wars covered the atmosphere, hiding most of the stars from view. Only the brightest ones managed to pierce through. They flickered like distant memories, beautiful, unreachable, and fading a little more each year. That night, however, something shifted. The air grew still. The dust in the sky seemed to clear for a moment, as though an unseen hand had brushed it aside. When I lifted my head, I saw a sky full of stars for the first time in my life. They glowed brighter than I ever imagined, blue, gold, white, and silver, forming patterns I did not recognize. And then I heard it. A sound, soft at first, like a breeze through leaves. But it was not the wind. It was a hum, gentle, rhythmic, and filled with meaning I couldn't explain. The stars were singing. Their voices were light, echoing across the sky as if carried by invisible threads. I stood frozen in the ruins, staring upward, feeling a strange warmth spread across my chest. It wasn't fear. It felt like recognition. Like something calling me home. As I listened, I heard words forming inside the melody. They were faint, almost too quiet to understand. But after a few moments, the sound grew clearer. A single name echoed in my mind, soft, ancient, familiar. Lira. My breath caught. I had never heard this name before, yet it felt like a missing piece of my soul had suddenly returned. The name resonated deeply inside me, stronger than my chosen name, stronger than any title I had ever used. It felt like mine. I whispered it aloud. Lira. The sound trembled on my lips. The sky shimmered. The stars pulsed brighter, responding to the name as though they recognized it too. I took a step back, overwhelmed. If the stars knew my name, my real name, what else did they remember? The next morning, the world felt different. People across the settlements were shaken. Many had heard the whispers in the sky. Some claimed they had been given names too, names they didn't know but felt connected to. Others said they had seen visions, faces, symbols, or strange cities floating among the stars. There was fear, confusion, and wonder. Where had these names come from? Why now? And what had awakened the stars after centuries of silence? The council called a gathering in the central ruin, where the old library once stood. People crowded around, whispering nervously. I kept my hood low, afraid someone would see the strange glow still lingering in my eyes from the night before. Councillor Marek, the oldest among us, stepped forward. His voice was shaky, but loud enough to reach everyone. Last night, he said, something ancient spoke to us. Something older than the collapse, older than humanity itself. A murmur spread through the crowd. Marek continued, the stars have awakened. They are remembering what we have forgotten. Names, histories, truths that were lost long ago. We must understand what this means, before it changes us in ways we cannot predict. People argued loudly. Some believed it was a blessing, a sign of renewal. Others feared it was a warning, or even a trap. I stood there silently, gripping the pendant I had found months ago in the ruins, a small, star-shaped piece of crystal with markings that no one could read. It had always felt strange and warm in my hand, but now it pulsed with the same rhythm as the stars the night before. It was as if the pendant was alive. As if it was calling me too. Suddenly, a voice behind me whispered, "You heard your name, didn't you?" I froze and turned slowly. A boy about my age stood there, thin, sharp-eyed, wrapped in a faded coat. I recognized him only vaguely. He was a wanderer like me, traveling between settlements. "How do you know?" I asked. He lifted his hand. A faint glow shimmered across his palm, forming a symbol of light. "Because," he said quietly, "I heard mine too." I stared at the symbol, unable to look away. "What's your name?" I whispered. He hesitated. The glow brightened. "Lira." The moment he said it, the pendant in my hand blazed with light. And I knew our lives had just changed forever. The glow from Lira's palm faded slowly, but the memory of it stayed bright in my mind. No one had seen anything like this before, light that came from a human body, symbols formed from pure energy. Only the stories of the ancients spoke of such things, and even those stories were fragments no one fully trusted. We stepped away from the crowd, finding a quiet corner behind the broken pillars of the old library. The pendant in my hand was still warm, pulsing softly like a heartbeat. Lira noticed. "That thing," he said, nodding at it. "It reacts when you hear your name." "It's done strange things before," I admitted. "But never like this." "What is it?" "I don't know. I found it months ago in the ruins near the eastern cliffs." It felt familiar. Lira studied me for a long moment. His eyes were sharp but kind, as though he could see things I didn't want to reveal. "You're connected to the stars," he said. "So are you." He shook his head. "No. You're different. When the stars called my name, I only felt fear. But you," he pointed at the pendant. "They awakened something inside you." I didn't know how to respond. I didn't understand it myself. Before I could speak, distant shouts rose from the crowd near the council. People were arguing loudly. "The stars are lying," someone yelled. "Their memories," another countered. "Their warnings. They're gods." Lira looked troubled. If this keeps spreading, the settlements could fall apart. He was right. People had built their fragile, quiet lives on forgetting the past. The stars giving back what was lost threatened everything. "We need answers," I said. Lira nodded. "And I think I know where to find them." We traveled at sunrise, leaving the settlement before the council could question us. Lira led the way with confidence I didn't expect. He moved like someone who had walked these paths many times. "Where are we going?" I asked after a long silence. "To the observatory," he said. I stopped in my tracks. "That place is forbidden." "So is listening to the stars," he replied with a small smile. "But we're doing it anyway." The observatory was a place of legends. It sat atop the highest cliffs in the region, overlooking the sea. People said the ancients built it to study the sky before the collapse. Others said it was where the first disasters began. No one had entered it in a century. As we hiked through the cracked earth and dried forests, I noticed the sky was clearer than usual. The stars, though faint in daylight, seemed to shimmer even in the morning. It was as if they were watching us. Or guiding us. After hours of walking, the silhouette of the observatory appeared on the horizon. A massive dome, broken in several places, stood against the wind. Rusted metal beams jutted out like the ribs of a giant creature. "Are you sure about this?" I asked quietly. "No," Lira replied. "But I feel like I'm meant to be here." I felt that too. When we reached the entrance, we found the large metal doors half open, frozen in place. Inside, the darkness swallowed everything. I hesitated, but Lira stepped forward and placed his hand on the door frame. The symbol on his palm flickered again, illuminating the space around us. The doors groaned, and for a moment I thought they were about to close. But instead, they opened a little wider, as though responding to his presence. "It recognized you," I whispered. He didn't answer. We stepped inside. The air was cold and heavy with dust. The floor was covered with debris from the collapsed ceiling. Old screens and broken equipment lay scattered like forgotten bones. But the most striking thing was the circular platform in the center of the room. It was smooth and metallic, untouched by rust. Strange symbols, similar to the ones Lira had shown, were etched into its surface. The moment we approached it, my pendant flared to life. The light shot out from it in thin strands, weaving across the room and connecting with the platform. The symbols began to glow. Kalia stared in awe. "What is happening?" "I don't know," I whispered. Then the platform lit up completely. A soft hum filled the room, and a holographic projection flickered upward. At first, it showed only static. Then images formed: stars, galaxies, constellations spinning slowly in the air. But it wasn't just a map of the sky. It was a memory. A voice, ancient and gentle, filled the chamber. "Welcome, children of the lost." My heart pounded. Kalia's breath caught. The projection shifted, showing a large network of glowing lines connecting different star clusters. "Your names were written in the stars before your world fell to silence." I felt the air grow colder as the realization struck me. This wasn't a message for the ancients. This was for us. "We carried your identities when you no longer could. The stars remembered us." The voice continued, echoing like a dream. "The time has come to return what was forgotten." Suddenly, the map expanded, zooming into a specific region of space. A cluster of stars formed a symbol, one I had seen on my pendant. Kalia whispered, "Lira, that's the symbol your name came from." I nodded slowly. My whole body was trembling. Then the voice spoke again, with a tone both warning and gentle. "But with every name restored, a memory awakens. And not all memories wish to remain in the past." The projection flickered violently. The room trembled. Something was wrong. Kalia grabbed my arm. "We need to leave." But before we could move, the hologram snapped into clarity one last time. A shadowy figure appeared within the stars, tall, blurred, impossible to identify. And then the message whispered a final, chilling line. "They are waking too." The platform went dark. The light vanished. And suddenly, the observatory was no longer silent. Something else was moving in the darkness. The silence after the projection vanished was heavier than the darkness itself. It pressed against my ears, tightening my chest. Kalia stepped closer to me, his hand hovering near mine as if he wasn't sure whether to hold it or pull me back. We listened. At first, all I heard was my own breathing, fast, unsteady, echoing faintly in the hollow observatory chamber. Then, slowly, another sound emerged. A scraping. A dragging. Something moving across the broken floor on the far side of the room. "Don't move," Kalia whispered. The sound grew closer. It was slow but deliberate. A shiver crawled up my spine. The pendant in my hand flickered weakly, as if frightened. My voice barely formed. What is that?" Kalia didn't answer. The symbol on his palm started to glow again, faint but steady. The light formed a soft circle around us, pushing the shadows back a little. And then we saw it. Something stirred between the fallen pillars, something tall, thin, and humanoid in shape, but not entirely solid. It looked like a shadow with edges of light rippling through it, as if it were made of starlight trapped inside smoke. It halted when the glow from Kalia's hand reached it. Its shape quivered, then straightened. 2 points of white light formed where its eyes should have been. I felt frozen, unable to breathe. Kalia whispered, "It knows we're here." The figure stepped forward. When it moved, the air changed, warmer, then colder, then still again. Its body shimmered like a projection, but it left footprints in the dust. It was both real and unreal, like something caught between worlds. Then it spoke. Not with a mouth. Not with sound. Its voice appeared directly inside our minds. "You carry the names." My knees nearly gave way. Kalia's grip around my wrist tightened. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head. Its white eyes glowed brighter. "A memory." The room seemed to darken around us. A fragment of what once was. Its voice echoed like a chorus of distant whispers, layered and ancient. "When the stars remembered you, we remembered too." My heart hammered. I finally found my voice. "Why are you here? What do you want?" The figure slowly lifted one arm, long and ghost-like, pointing at my pendant. "That is the key." I clutched it instinctively. "It awakens us. It awakens all of us." I swallowed hard. "What do you mean all?" Before the figure could answer, the observatory trembled again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Old metal beams groaned. Kalia stepped in front of me protectively. What's happening? The shadowy figure looked upward, its form flickering wildly. They have sensed you. They are coming. Who? I cried. The figure leaned close to Kalia, its voice sharpening like breaking glass. You must choose what you awaken. Not every memory deserves to return. The trembling grew into a violent shake. A loud crack echoed overhead. Stones began to fall from the fractured dome above. The figure's eyes dimmed. Run. And then it dissolved, shattering into specks of silver light that vanished into the darkness. Kalia pulled me by the hand toward the exit. We sprinted across the debris-covered floor as the observatory roof began to collapse. The ground shook beneath us, sending cracks rippling through the platform we had activated. Faster! Kalia yelled. The glowing symbols on the floor flared one last time before fading completely into darkness. The entire chamber roared like an angry beast. We reached the entrance just as a massive section of the ceiling crashed behind us. A cloud of dust shot out through the doors, covering the sky in a brown haze. Kalia and I stumbled out into the open air, coughing. When the dust settled enough to see, the observatory was half buried in rubble. Kalia leaned against a rock, breathing hard. It wasn't just a machine. There were living memories inside it. I shook my head, trying to stay calm. Not living, something else. Something that remembered us. He looked at me with fear in his eyes. And something else remembered too. Whatever was coming, what do you think it is? I stared at the collapsed observatory, feeling the pendant pulse rapidly like it sensed danger. I don't know, I whispered. But I think we've awakened more than just our names. We didn't return to the settlement right away. Kalia suggested we stay hidden until we understood more, and I agreed. The stars seemed brighter that night, watching us with silent interest. We camped under a broken archway a few miles east of the observatory. The fire between us crackled softly, but it did little to warm the cold air. Kalia sat across from me, turning a small piece of metal in his hands. It was something he had taken from the observatory floor, a fragment engraved with the same symbols. I think we were meant to go there, he said quietly. Why us? He paused. Because we heard our names. I hesitated. Do you remember anything else? Any memories from before? He shook his head. Only flashes. A voice. A feeling of falling. I looked up at the stars. I saw a city, I whispered. In the moment the stars said my name. A city floating in the sky. I felt like I had lived there. Kalia stared at me. Maybe you did. His words chilled me. The fire dimmed. And then the pendant blazed with sudden light. I gasped, nearly dropping it. The light shot upward into the sky like a beacon. Kalia jumped to his feet. What did you do? Nothing. It did it on its own. The light stretched higher and higher, piercing the clouds. And then the sky answered. A streak of blue-gold light flashed across the stars, fast, bright, and unmistakably alive. It moved like something searching, hunting. And it was headed straight toward us. Kalia grabbed my arm. His voice trembled. Lira, they've found us. The streak of blue-gold light tore across the night sky like a burning comet, but it wasn't falling, it was steering. Changing direction. Adjusting its path with intent. It moved too smoothly, too intelligently to be anything natural. Kalia and I backed away from the glowing pillar of light my pendant was sending upward. The beam felt like a call, like a signal reaching out into the universe. But I didn't know who or what was listening. Turn it off, Kalia whispered urgently. I can't. I pressed my fingers against the crystal. It won't stop. The light pulsed again, faster now, almost frantic. Kalia looked up at the approaching streak. We need to run. Now. I nodded, and we sprinted across the barren field toward the cliffs. The ground was uneven, cracked, and covered in old ruins. My pendant's beam guided the object in the sky closer and closer. Kalia grabbed my hand as he ran. Don't look back. But I did. The streak of light was no longer distant. It split into smaller threads, 5, then 6, each one weaving like ribbons of glowing fire through the air. They circled above us, drawing tighter and tighter, as if surrounding a target. Us. We reached the edge of a broken stone ridge and ducked behind it, panting. Lira gently pressed me against the rock to keep me still. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The sky above us roared. The streaks descended, slowing as they approached the ground. Then, without touching the earth, they stopped mid-air, hovering, rotating in a slow spiral. The light faded slightly, revealing shapes inside. Tall. Humanoid. Half shadow, half light. Like the figure we saw in the observatory, but clearer. More defined. More alive. There were 6 of them. Their bodies shimmered like shifting constellations, stars moving under translucent skin. Their eyes were glowing orbs of pure white, searching the ground below. I couldn't breathe. Lira trembled beside me. "They're not memories. They're something else." One of the beings descended lower, scanning the ground with long, glowing fingers. Their voices echoed faintly, not like speech, but like vibrations humming through the air. "The key is near," another answered. "The name-bearer must be found." My throat closed. They were searching for me. Lira carefully leaned closer and whispered, "We need to get out of here before they." He didn't finish. Because the pendant suddenly flared again, sending a bright flash of light through the cracks of the stone ridge where we hid. The sky-pale beings froze. All 6 turned their heads sharply toward our position. Lira cursed under his breath. They saw us. We ran. We scrambled down the ridge, sliding through gravel and broken stone. Behind us, the beings gave chase, not running, but gliding, their feet never touching the ground. They moved like silent blades of light through the air, fast and elegant. Lira pointed toward a ravine ahead. "This way." The ravine was narrow, filled with shadows. We squeezed into the crevice just as one of the beings extended a glowing hand toward us. The rocks around us vibrated and cracked under the force of its energy. The air hummed with pressure. Lira shielded me with his body. "Lira, the pendant, can you control it?" "I don't know. Try." I clutched the pendant tightly and shut my eyes, willing the light to stop. I focused on the memory of my name, Lira. The way it sounded when the stars spoke it. The feeling it awoke in my chest. And slowly, the light dimmed. The hum weakened. The beings hesitated, hovering uncertainly. Lira exhaled shakily. "You did it." But our relief was short-lived. One of the beings drifted forward, lowering its voice to a whisper that seeped through the stone walls. "Child of the lost, you cannot hide." A piercing beam of white-blue energy shot into the ravine, striking the rock near us. The ground shook violently, sending dust and shards flying. Lira grabbed my arm and pulled me deeper into the narrow path. "We can't stay here. Keep moving." We squeezed through the tight cracks, climbing over jagged stone until we emerged on the other side of the ravine. The beings' glowing forms were still blocked by the narrow opening, for now. But we could hear them reshaping the rocks with their energy. "They're breaking through," I said breathlessly. Lira nodded. "We need to reach the forgotten road. It leads to the coast. If we can make it there." A deafening crack shattered the air. The ravine behind us exploded outward, chunks of stone flying like broken stars. The beings rose from the cloud of dust, now fully aware of our presence. Their eyes glowed brighter. And then one of them spoke directly into my mind. "Lira of the first light, return what belongs to the skyborn." I stumbled. "Lira, they know who I am." Lira pulled me forward. "Then we run faster." We fled across the broken plain as the 6 skyborn, because I could think of no other name, chased us with terrifying speed. The stars above flickered. The ground shook. And deep inside the pendant, something ancient stirred, stronger than before. As if awakening in response to them. Not out of fear, but out of defiance. We ran until my legs burned and my throat felt raw, but the skyborn never tired, never slowed, never faltered. They glided after us like 6 silver phantoms, their bodies unraveling and reforming with the wind. Night deepened into a cold, star-filled darkness. The moon rose pale and thin, casting long shadows across the ruined plain. Every breath felt sharp, like the air had frozen inside my chest. Kalir glanced back, his expression tight with exhaustion and fear. They're still gaining. I know. I gasped. Just keep going. The pendant throbbed suddenly against my palm, 3 rapid pulses, like a heartbeat signaling danger. Then the ground ahead of us dropped away. Kalir skidded to a halt just in time, pulling me back before I ran straight off the edge. Before us yawned a massive canyon, its depths lost in swirling darkness. A broken bridge stretched across it, barely more than crumbling stones suspended over emptiness. Kalir cursed under his breath. We can't cross that. Behind us, the Skyborn slowed, forming a loose semicircle around the edge of the canyon. Their glowing bodies crackled with swirling constellations, eyes fixed on me. Kalir, I whispered, my voice trembling. What do we do? He stepped slightly in front of me. We fight if we have to. The Skyborn drifted closer, the air humming with their presence. One of them, the tallest, extended a shimmering hand. Its voice entered our minds, calm and resonant. You hold what was stolen. Return it, Lira of the First Light. My heart pounded. I don't even know what I'm holding. Another Skyborn, with a softer, wavering outline, floated forward. The fragment of the star heart. It answers only to those of its lineage. Kalir stiffened. Lineage? What lineage? Their glowing eyes turned to him. The same as yours, Kalir of the Shrouded Path. Kalir froze. I stared at him, stunned. You knew? He shook his head quickly. No. I don't remember anything. I swear. The Skyborn spread out, forming a shimmering net of starlight around us. The first one spoke again. You awaken what should sleep. You summon what should not rise. Its tone sharpened. If you refuse to return, we must reclaim it by force. Kalir stepped closer to me. Lira, whatever happens, run when I say. No. I grabbed his sleeve. I'm not leaving you. The canyon wind howled, cold and sharp. The Skyborn raised their arms. Starlight gathered in their hands. Their bodies brightened to blinding white. Kales! I screamed. Down, he shouted. We dove to the ground as beams of light shot overhead, slicing through stone and air. The canyon walls shook, rocks exploding into dust. The pendant ripped itself from my grip, floating upward in front of me like a shield. And then, everything stopped. The light froze midair. The Skyborn halted, confusion flickering through their glowing eyes. Even the wind stilled. The pendant burned with a deep, golden radiance. A new voice echoed across the canyon. Not inside our minds, but through the air itself. Enough. The sky above us shook. Clouds swirled violently around a single point of blue-gold light, like a star forming just above the canyon. The light spiral widened, deepening in color until it resembled a gateway torn into the night sky. The Skyborn recoiled instantly. Impossible, one whispered. The Warden still lives. Kalir stared upward, shielding his eyes. What is that? A figure stepped out of the swirling light. Not a Skyborn. Not a shadow. But a being of pure golden flame, shaped like a human but burning with a brightness that felt ancient and terrifying. A long cloak of molten starlight flowed behind it, shifting like liquid fire. It landed softly on the rocky ground between us and the Skyborn. I felt a warmth spread through me, not painful, but familiar. Like a presence I had once known. The golden figure raised its hand. The Skyborn immediately backed away, their forms dimming in fear. The figure's voice thundered. You will not touch the Starheart's heir. I trembled. Starheart's heir? Me? Kalir grabbed my hand, pulling me behind him instinctively. The golden figure turned its head slightly, as if acknowledging us both. Then it spoke, soft now, but filled with immense weight. Lira. Kalir. The truth must be told. The Skyborn hissed in unison. Do not reveal it. She is not ready. The golden figure ignored them. Its eyes, brilliant molten gold, locked onto mine. You are not children of the collapse. The world felt like it tilted under my feet. You are children of the stars. Kalir's grip loosened. I whispered, That's impossible. No, the Golden Warden replied. It is forgotten. And then? You were born before the collapse. You were hidden as infants. Your names were written into the stars themselves. The Skyborn roared in protest, their bodies flaring violently. Kalia stepped back, stunned. We're not human. The Warden shook its head slowly. You are both. The pendant hovered closer to me, fusing its light with the Warden's. The canyon glowed with golden fire. The Skyborn surged forward, desperate. If she awakens. The past awakens with her. The Warden lifted both arms. A shockwave of golden energy blasted outward, knocking the Skyborn back like scattered sparks. I covered my ears as the air trembled. The Warden's voice rose like thunder. Lira, Kalia, choose. Will you reclaim what you once were? Or remain who you believe yourselves to be? My heart raced. Kalia looked at me, breath trembling. We have to decide. But the Warden wasn't finished. Its final words shook the canyon to its core. If you choose the truth, then the enemy who destroyed our world will awaken too. The ground split beneath us. The sky cracked with light. And the past began to return. The harmonic array trembled as if it were waking from a long sleep. The air around it grew warmer, almost like breath. Orion, Lira, and the others stepped back, unsure if they had done something right or something dangerously wrong. A soft pulse traveled from the central node to the outer rings. It moved slow at first, like a heartbeat remembering its rhythm, then faster, glowing brighter with each wave. Lira felt her chest tighten. It's responding, she whispered. It's alive. For the first time, the machine did not feel like a constructed object. It felt ancient, aware, and patient. As if it had been waiting not just for humans, but for them specifically. A low hum rose from the ground. The dust beneath their feet vibrated. The air shimmered like a heat wave, though it was cold enough to sting. Then the array spoke. Not in words. Not in sound. But in memory. A flood of images burst into their minds, stars forming, dying, collapsing into new shapes. Worlds rising and falling. Civilizations glowing like tiny sparks in the dark. Not all human. Some familiar, others completely alien. Lira saw faces she did not know but somehow remembered. Old friends from lives she had never lived. Families she had never met. A home that was not Earth but felt like it had been hers. She gasped and fell to her knees. Orion knelt beside her, overwhelmed by the same visions. It's showing us everything, he breathed. No, Sarah said softly. It's showing us everything we forgot. The array pulsed again, and this time the memories were sharper. They saw an ancient alliance, humans and another race, tall beings made of shimmering light. They walked among the earliest human settlements, guiding them, teaching them how to harness the rhythm of the stars. But then came a war. A war not for land or power, but for memory. Something had tried to erase the connection between humans and the starborn beings. Something had tried to wipe out not just civilizations, but the memory that they had ever existed. And it had succeeded, almost. A voice formed in the center of Orion's mind. Not a memory. A presence. You returned. He flinched. Who are you? We are what remains of those who walked with your ancestors. We kept your names. We kept your stories. We kept the part of you the darkness could not destroy. Lira stood slowly, her breath shaky. Why show us now? The answer came as a whisper made of light. Because the darkness is waking again. The temperature dropped instantly. The skies above them rippled like a stone hitting water. The constellations shifted, rearranging themselves into unfamiliar shapes. It was as if the universe itself was warning them. Sarah clutched her arms. What does it want? Not want, the voice replied. Devour. The memoravisions shifted again. They saw a vast shadow stretching across the galaxy. It was not a creature, at least not in the physical sense. It was a force that consumed thought, memory, and identity. A silence so deep it swallowed understanding itself. It had come before. Humans had survived only because the star beings had hidden their memories, sealing their shared history inside places like the harmonic array. This array was one of many. Perhaps the last one still functioning. Orion stared at the glowing rings. So you stored our memories for us. We stored who you were, the voice answered. So you could become who you must be. The machine brightened again. And suddenly, the vision stopped. The world returned to normal. The cold desert. The quiet wind. The silent stars. But nothing felt the same. Ilara looked up at the sky. It remembered us, she whispered. Yes, Sarah said. And it needs us to remember in return. A soft crack echoed from the array's core. The ground trembled. Orion stepped forward. What's happening? And then, everything stopped. The light froze midair. The skyborn halted, confusion flickering through their glowing eyes. Even the wind stilled. The pendant burned with a deep, golden radiance. A new voice echoed across the canyon. Not inside our minds, but through the air itself. Enough. The sky above us shook. Clouds swirled violently around a single point of blue-gold light, like a star forming just above the canyon. The light spiral widened, deepening in color until it resembled a gateway torn into the night sky. The skyborn recoiled instantly. Impossible, one whispered. The warden still lives. Kalia stared upward, shielding his eyes. What is that? A figure stepped out of the swirling light. Not a skyborn. Not a shadow. But a being of pure golden flame, shaped like a human but burning with a brightness that felt ancient and terrifying. A long cloak of molten starlight flowed behind it, shifting like liquid fire. It landed softly on the rocky ground between us and the skyborn. I felt a warmth spread through me, not painful, but familiar. Like a presence I had once known. The golden figure raised its hand. The skyborn immediately backed away, their forms dimming in fear. The figure's voice thundered. You will not touch the Starheart's heir. I trembled. Starheart's heir? Me? Kalia grabbed my hand, pulling me behind him instinctively. The golden figure turned its head slightly, as if acknowledging us both. Then it spoke, soft now, but filled with immense weight. Lira. Kalia. The truth must be told. The skyborn hissed in unison. Do not reveal it. She is not ready. The golden figure ignored them. Its eyes, brilliant molten gold, locked onto mine. You are not children of the collapse. The world felt like it tilted under my feet. You are children of the stars. Kalia's grip loosened. I whispered, that's impossible. No, the golden warden replied. It is forgotten. And then, you were born before the collapse. You were hidden as infants. Your names were written into the stars themselves. The skyborn roared in protest, their bodies flaring violently. Kalia stepped back, stunned. We're not human. The warden shook its head slowly. You are both. The pendant hovered closer to me, fusing its light with the warden's. The canyon glowed with golden fire. The skyborn surged forward, desperate. If she awakens. The past awakens with her. The warden lifted both arms. A shockwave of golden energy blasted outward, knocking the skyborn back like scattered sparks. I covered my ears as the air trembled. The warden's voice rose like thunder. Lira, Kalia, choose. Will you reclaim what you once were? Or remain who you believe yourselves to be? My heart raced. Kalia looked at me, breath trembling. We have to decide. But the warden wasn't finished. Its final words shook the canyon to its core. If you choose the truth, then the enemy who destroyed our world will awaken too. The ground split beneath us. The sky cracked with light. And the past began to return. The harmonic array trembled as if it were waking from a long sleep. The air around it grew warmer, almost like breath. Orion, Ilara, and the others stepped back, unsure if they had done something right or something dangerously wrong. A soft pulse traveled from the central node to the outer rings. It moved slow at first, like a heartbeat remembering its rhythm, then faster, glowing brighter with each wave. Ilara felt her chest tighten. It's responding, she whispered. It's alive. For the first time, the machine did not feel like a constructed object. It felt ancient, aware, and patient. as if it had been waiting not just for humans, but for them specifically. A low hum rose from the ground. The dust beneath their feet vibrated. The air shimmered like a heat wave, though it was cold enough to sting. Then the array spoke. Not in words. Not in sound. But in memory. A flood of images burst into their minds, stars forming, dying, collapsing into new shapes. Worlds rising and falling. Civilizations glowing like tiny sparks in the dark. Not all human. Some familiar, others completely alien. Ilara saw faces she did not know but somehow remembered. Old friends from lives she had never lived. Families she had never met. A home that was not Earth but felt like it had been hers. She gasped and fell to her knees. Orion knelt beside her, overwhelmed by the same visions. "It's showing us everything," he breathed. "No," Sarah said softly. "It's showing us everything we forgot." The array pulsed again, and this time the memories were sharper. They saw an ancient alliance, humans and another race, tall beings made of shimmering light. They walked among the earliest human settlements, guiding them, teaching them how to harness the rhythm of the stars. But then came a war. A war not for land or power, but for memory. Something had tried to erase the connection between humans and the starborn beings. Something had tried to wipe out not just civilizations, but the memory that they had ever existed. And it had succeeded, almost. A voice formed in the center of Orion's mind. Not a memory. A presence. "You returned." He flinched. "Who are you?" "We are what remains of those who walked with your ancestors. We kept your names. We kept your stories. We kept the part of you the darkness could not destroy." Ilara stood slowly, her breath shaky. "Why show us now?" The answer came as a whisper made of light. "Because the darkness is waking again." The temperature dropped instantly. The skies above them rippled like a stone hitting water. The constellations shifted, rearranging themselves into unfamiliar shapes. It was as if the universe itself was warning them. Sarah clutched her arms. "What does it want?" "Not want," the voice replied. "Devour." The memoravisions shifted again. They saw a vast shadow stretching across the galaxy. It was not a creature, at least not in the physical sense. It was a force that consumed thought, memory, and identity. A silence so deep it swallowed understanding itself. It had come before. Humans had survived only because the star beings had hidden their memories, sealing their shared history inside places like the harmonic array. This array was one of many. Perhaps the last one still functioning. Orion stared at the glowing rings. "So you stored our memories for us." "We stored who you were," the voice answered. "So you could become who you must be." The machine brightened again. And suddenly, the vision stopped. The world returned to normal. The cold desert. The quiet wind. The silent stars. But nothing felt the same. Ilara looked up at the sky. "It remembered us," she whispered. "Yes," Sarah said. "And it needs us to remember in return." A soft crack echoed from the array's core. The ground trembled. Orion stepped forward. "What's happening?" The voice returned, fading, strained. "We have given all we can. Now you must carry the light. Find the Echo Gate. It is the last doorway to the memory beyond stars." Ilara's eyes widened. "The Echo Gate. Where is it?" The answer came faint, barely more than wind. "Where the universe ends, and begins again." Then the light of the array flickered once, twice, and dimmed. Silence fell over the desert. The machine was still. But their minds were not. They carried new memories, now ancient memories, powerful memories, memories that no darkness could erase. Orion looked at the others. "We need to find the Echo Gate." Ilara nodded, her voice steady. "For the stars. For the beings who remembered us. For everything we forgot." Above them, a single star pulsed, slow and soft, like a heartbeat. As if saying remember. The next morning, the desert felt different. Quieter. Heavier. It was as if the harmonic array, now silent, had left behind a weight in the air, a memory too large for the world to hold. Orion, Ilara, Sarah, and Cade stood together, staring at the structure one last time before they began their journey. Orion placed his hand on the metal ring. "We won't forget," he whispered. The array did not respond, but something in the sky flickered gently, as if acknowledging his promise. Ilara opened the old star map again. But now, lines and symbols that had been invisible before glowed faintly. New coordinates had appeared overnight. The entire map had changed. Sarah leaned closer. The array unlocked it. "These are the coordinates for the Echo Gate." Cade frowned. "But it's not pointing to any known system." Ilara traced her finger along the new glowing lines. "It's pointing somewhere outside the mapped universe. Beyond the last charted star. Beyond anything humans have ever traveled to." They exchanged uneasy glances. Orion took a deep breath. "We've come too far to turn back now." Their ship, the Silver Thread, lifted from the sand with a soft roar. As it rose, the desert shrank beneath them until the harmonic array was just a dim circle of metal in an endless sea of gold. Inside the cockpit, Ilara entered the new coordinates. The navigation system flickered, confused, then began calculating a route into deep uncharted space. Sarah's voice shook slightly. "This path, it doesn't follow any star lanes. It goes straight toward a void sector." Cade turned sharply. "The void spiral. Nobody comes back from there." Ilara shook her head slowly. "This is beyond even that. Something further. Something that was hidden from us." The engines hummed. The ship accelerated. Stars stretched into white lines. They left familiar space behind. Hours passed. Then days. The deeper they went, the stranger the universe became. Nebulas shone with colors no human eye had recorded before. Fragments of broken moons drifted like frozen tears. Light behaved strangely, bending, pulsing, twisting into shapes that felt almost alive. Sometimes the stars flickered in patterns that looked like writing. Sometimes Orion could swear he heard whispers woven into the static of the comms system. On the seventh day, the stars vanished completely. A ripple of darkness spread across the windows like ink dropped in water. Sarah gasped. "We crossed the last frontier, the border of known space." Ilara adjusted the scanners. "There's nothing out there. No planets. No light. Not even dust." "No," Orion murmured. "There's something. Look." Ahead of them, something faint glowed inside the dark. At first it looked like a thin line, soft, silver, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. As they grew closer, the shape became clearer. A ring. Enormous. Floating in complete emptiness. It was 10 times the size of Earth's moon, made of a material that looked like woven starlight and shadow. It turned slowly, almost gently, as if it were alive. Ilara whispered, "The Echo Gate." Cade stared, speechless. "It's beautiful." Sarah, however, felt a shiver go down her spine. If this is a doorway, what is on the other side? The Silver Thread drifted closer. The scanners buzzed with unreadable signals. The gate pulsed once, a deep, resonant tone that trembled through the ship. Orion held his breath. "It remembers us." Suddenly, symbols lit up around the ring, symbols matching the ones they saw in the harmonic array. The lights formed a pattern, then a message. Ilara translated slowly. It says, "Memory is the key. Only those who remember may pass." A soft hum vibrated through the ship. Then another voice filled their minds, the same ancient presence that had spoken through the array. "You have carried our memories. Now step into your own." Light burst from the ring, brilliant, silver, weightless. The Echo Gate opened. Orion gripped the controls, heart pounding. "Everyone ready?" Ilara nodded. Cade swallowed hard. Sarah whispered, "For the stars, and for who we were." The Silver Thread entered the light. The universe dissolved around them. For a moment, there was no time, no form, no sound, just a sensation of falling and rising at the same time. Their thoughts stretched, warped, and unfolded. Then, a blinding white horizon. A sky made of shifting constellations. A world that was not a world at all. Ilara blinked. "What is this place?" Orion stared, stunned. "I think." He looked up at the sky, where stars moved like living rivers of memory. I think we're inside a memory of the universe itself. And somewhere, deep in the distance, something enormous stirred, something waiting, watching, remembering. But whether it was friend or enemy, they were about to find out. The world inside the Echo Gate felt both infinite and impossibly small, like a dream held between two breaths. Orion, Ilara, Sarah, and Cade walked across a surface that wasn't solid ground but a tapestry of shifting starlight. Every step left ripples that glowed softly before fading again. Above them, constellations rearranged themselves in slow, graceful patterns. It felt like walking through the inside of a living mind. Ilara touched her chest. I can feel it, she whispered. It's like the universe is breathing. As they moved forward, a shape began to form ahead of them, first mist, then light, then a tall figure woven from stars. It was one of the ancient beings the array had shown them in visions. Its voice echoed without sound. You have come to the heart of remembrance. Orion stepped forward cautiously. You saved our memories once. But you said the darkness is waking again. We need to know how to stop it. The star being tilted its head gently. You cannot stop what was born with the first shadow. Its voice was calm, neither warning nor comforting. But you can illuminate what it seeks to erase. Sarah frowned. What does that mean? The being extended a hand. Light swirled around them, forming scenes: ancient worlds, starborn children, humans long before recorded history. A time when both species walked together, shared thoughts, learned from each other. The being continued. The darkness devours memory, not matter. It thrives where forgetting grows. When humanity lost its past, the shadow grew stronger. Ilara's eyes widened. So remembering is the only weapon? Memory is light, the being answered. As long as light exists, the shadow cannot win. The starlight shifted again, forming a small glowing sphere floating between them. This is the core of the Echo Gate, the being said. It holds our last shared memories. But it cannot leave this place. Only you can carry it forward. Orion hesitated. Why us? The being's glow pulsed gently. Because you listened. Because you remembered. The sphere drifted toward Orion. He reached out. His fingers touched its surface. And suddenly, he was everywhere. He saw the dawn of the universe. He saw humans learning to speak by watching the stars dance. He saw the first cities built with guidance from the light beings. He saw the moment the darkness first arrived, a whisper that turned into a storm. Then he saw something else. Not the past. The future. A future where humanity remembered its true origin. A future where light and shadow coexisted, not as enemies, but as balance. A future shaped not by fear, but by understanding. He gasped as the vision faded. The sphere dimmed and rested gently in his hands. Sarah whispered, Orion, are you okay? He nodded slowly. Yes. I know what we have to do. The star being bowed. Go. Carry what we can no longer hold. Keep humanity awake. The Echo Gate began to flicker around them. The sky of shifting constellations dimmed. Cade shouted. It's collapsing. Ilara grabbed Orion's arm. Hold on to the sphere. Don't let go. A wave of light swept over them, pulling them, pushing them, lifting them. For a moment, they felt weightless. Then the silver thread reappeared around them, alarms ringing. Stars rushed into view. The Echo Gate shrank behind them, fading like a dying ember. They were back in real space. Back in the universe they knew. But something had changed. The stars were brighter. Their constellations looked more familiar than before, almost as if they were calling out, welcoming them home. Sarah stared through the glass. It feels warmer now. Orion held the glowing sphere close to his chest. We have the memory of the universe. The part we forgot. The part the darkness can never erase again. Ilara rested her head on his shoulder. So what happens next? Orion smiled softly. We share it. We teach it. We remember. All of us. For a long moment, none of them spoke. They simply watched the stars drift by, each one a silent witness to ancient stories. Then, far away, one bright star pulsed gently. Once. Twice. As if saying, We remember you. Now remember yourselves. The silver thread turned toward the distant speck of Earth. Their journey home had begun. And with it, the dawn of a new age. An age where humanity walked under a sky that finally knew their names.